Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by green hills and lush forests, there lived a young shepherd named John. Juan was known for his overflowing imagination and his fondness for jokes, characteristics that often got him into trouble. Every day, Juan took his flock of sheep to graze on the hillsides near the village, a task he found monotonous and boring. One sunny morning, while the sheep were grazing peacefully, Juan had an idea that he considered brilliant. "What if I made everyone believe there was a wolf?" he thought with a mischievous smile. Without thinking twice, he started screaming at the top of his lungs, "Wolf! Wolf! Help! The wolf is coming!" The villagers, hearing Juan's desperate cries, immediately left their chores and ran up the hill, armed with sticks and pitchforks, ready to confront the fearsome predator and save the flock. When they arrived panting to where Juan was, they found him laughing out loud. "It was a joke!" Juan exclaimed, laughing. "You should have seen their faces!" The villagers, exhausted and annoyed, returned to the village, murmuring about the young shepherd's immaturity. Some warned him not to play with something so serious, but Juan was too satisfied with his joke to pay attention. Days passed, and life in the village returned to its usual rhythm. Juan continued with his daily routine of taking the sheep to graze, but the memory of his successful prank was still fresh in his mind. One afternoon, while watching the clouds form shapes in the sky, he decided it was the perfect time for another prank. "Wolf! Wolf!" Juan shouted again, this time with more conviction in his voice. "Please help! The wolf is attacking my sheep!" Once again, the villagers stopped their activities and ran toward the hill, although this time with less urgency and more skepticism. When they arrived, they found Juan rolling on the floor, laughing even louder than the first time. "Los engañé de nuevo!" exclamó entre risas. The villagers, now truly angry, seriously warned him not to play such pranks again. "One day the wolf might really come and no one will believe you," an old man told him before they all returned to the village, leaving Juan alone with his flock and his laughter, which gradually faded away. Time passed, and Juan began to feel increasingly alone on the hill. The other shepherds avoided his company, and the village children no longer came up to play with him. He began to understand that his jokes had had consequences beyond simple laughter. One afternoon, as Juan was reflecting on his past actions, a movement in the bushes caught his attention. At first, he thought it was his imagination playing tricks on him, but then he saw it. A large gray wolf, with yellow eyes that glittered with hunger, stalking his flock. Juan's heart began to pound. This time it wasn't a joke. The danger was real. "Wolf! Wolf!" he screamed at the top of his lungs, his voice filled with genuine terror. "Please help! This time it's real!" But in the village, the villagers heard Juan's screams and simply shook their heads. "There goes Juan again with his jokes," some said. "He's already fooled us twice. We won't fall for it a third time," others commented. Juan, desperate, tried to protect his flock by himself. Corrió entre las ovejas, agitando su cayado y gritando para ahuyentar al lobo. But the animal, hungry and ferocious, was not intimidated. One by one, the sheep began to fall victim to the predator, while Juan cried and begged for help that did not come. As the sun began to set, John returned to the village with the few sheep that had survived. Her face was stained with tears, and her voice was hoarse from screaming. The villagers, seeing the condition in which he arrived and the small size of the flock, finally understood that this time Juan had told the truth. The young shepherd, dejected and repentant, addressed the villagers. "I'm so sorry. I never should have lied. Now I understand the damage that lies and practical jokes can cause. I have lost a large part of my flock, and, what is worse, I have lost your trust." The villagers, moved by John's sincerity and seeing his genuine repentance, decided to forgive him. However, they made him promise that he would never lie or joke about serious matters again. Juan, grateful for his community's understanding, vowed that from that moment on he would always tell the truth and strive to regain their lost trust. In the days and weeks that followed, Juan worked tirelessly to demonstrate his change. He helped the other shepherds, collaborated in the village tasks, and above all, he took dedicated care of the flock that remained to him. Little by little, the villagers began to trust him again, and Juan learned the value of honesty and responsibility. This experience not only changed Juan, but became a lesson for the entire town. Parents told the story to their children, teaching them the importance of always telling the truth and the consequences that lies can have, even when told in jest. Over time, the story of John and the wolf became a fable known throughout the region, passed down from generation to generation, as a reminder that trust is a hard-earned treasure that can be lost in an instant. And so, in that small town surrounded by green hills, Juan grew up to become a respected. Her story reminds us that honesty and integrity are virtues we must cultivate and protect, as they are the foundation of all human relationships and the foundation of a strong and united community. The fable of John and the wolf teaches us that our words and actions have power, and that we must use them wisely and responsibly. Su historia de aprendizaje nos recuerda que todos cometemos errores, pero lo importante es reconocerlos, aprender de ellos y esforzarnos por ser mejores cada día. And so every time someone in the village heard a cry for help, they remembered Juan's story and came without hesitation, knowing that solidarity and mutual trust are the pillars that support a united and strong community. If you want to see more stories, don't forget to like, share with your friends, and subscribe.